Hello and welcome to the Build with Bear workshop, where we build model kits and Lego sets. Lego tonight. It's all Lego tonight. First and foremost, a shout out to Harold, who is hosting the stream. Thank you, Harold. I am throwing the Bear Cave emote in the chat, the Lego emote, the Scythe emote. If you're currently a subscriber, like Recyclable, you can throw that emote in the chat and let the people know. Reminder. Hey, maybe your account expired, your subscription expired because you used Twitch Prime. You gotta renew that yourself. I need to remind myself to do that because a friend of mine that I do it for, I haven't done it in a bit, or it's expiring, I should say. Kate Stark, who gets my coin. I just realized I haven't renewed, so I'm gonna do that. I'm literally doing that right now. She's live. I'm going to do that. I'm going to resubscribe. Uh, for free. Yeah. Just going to do that. I did that. You could do that to me or someone else. Asmo's here. Lashbrook's here. Dude Wants His Rug is here. We already have a stellar crew here for building and hanging out. If you missed the stream on Saturday, well, it's probably because I did it early, or you just missed it for another reason. But it also could be because I did it very early in Saturday because I worked a shift at the Brooklyn Comedy Collective. So we worked on the special transport. This is the heavy cargo transport. There's some yellow in it, so it doesn't really love it with the green screen camera. So we got the pickup, we got the flatbed, and we've got some of the helicopter. So we're going to finish that up. That's happening. And then we are going to jump into another Lego set because Ultron sent me 2 Lego sets. And we're going to do those 2 in a row. Very excited about that. We've got the... we're going to do a Caravan here, another pickup truck. And a Caravan. Excited for that. Ultron says, "Hello, Pat. Sorry I wasn't here Saturday, but Gumbo called." And Gumbo is capitalized, which means you know it's for real. Ultron, don't worry about it. It's totally okay. And in general, folks that are watching here live at the moment, if you're watching the archive VOD here on Twitch, if you're watching later on YouTube, I love it when folks are here, especially folks that are here often. That's always awesome. But if you can't watch it live, you can't watch it live. If you watch it on the replay, if you can't spend 6 hours a week with me, I get that, and it's okay. We all love to see the numbers. We love to see the viewer numbers be really high. We like to see the subscriber numbers go up. We like to see new followers and new subscribers. These are things that we like. But I also get it. And at the end of the day, the streaming is a thing that is fun for me to do, and I will continue to do it until I can't. And I don't have a good reason why I can't. So we're going to keep building. But if you can't be here for every stream, that's okay. In the same way that if you're watching and you're not a chatter, you don't like being in the chat, you don't like throwing the emotes in, you don't like keeping the conversation going, you just like to watch, or you have it on while you do other things, I get that. That's okay. Sometimes it's nice to have some chatting, because there are occasions where I do not have things to say, but it's okay. Harold's throwing the emote in there. Appreciate that. Ultron's throwing the emotes in as well. Very nice. So we're going to build some Lego. Because also, the thing when it comes to Lego is, I often just go, oh, this was kind of constructed cool. Or, oh, these colors don't really match between the actual ones and the booklet. And then that's it. I don't really have a lot to say beyond that. Or like, it's fun to build something that's based on a real thing. Like, when it comes to Lego builds, one of the great parts of it is I don't have to really focus. I'm just matching pieces, so we can talk about a lot of things. And I hope it's okay. But tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about professional wrestling. Both, the highs and the lows. Let's go to the overhead. Let's just get into it. Sometimes I talk a little longer, not today. So you can see we got our transport here, our truck, clips into the back here, and lots of turning radius here. You can turn it all the way like that, which is pretty convenient and handy. And then our helicopter, when that's finished, will sit right there. So we're going to take our pilot out of the helicopter. So we build without our pilot, put that aside, and then we'll just we'll put our transport over here, just out of the way. Um, yes, Lashbrook, professional wrestling. There was some wrestling this weekend. Now I don't have a lot to say about the G1 climax. Um, I was just about to type how glad I was to have something other than Raw to have on the background tonight while playing games. Well, Asmo, I understand. Why I just stayed awake like 26 hours because of it last week. Yes. Yes, indeed. There was a lot of wrestling. And I want to talk about this interesting dichotomy because last night, after a big wrestle show for the WWE, they debuted a new network special, 24. They follow people around. Originally, it was like 24 hours with this wrestler. Now it's broadened and it focuses on part of a 24-hour period, but they add more detail. It's kind of like mini documentaries about wrestlers. And there's one on Kofi Kingston, and it's good. WWE has very good production values when they want to. Um, it's really worth your time if you have the network. Um, it is an exploration of his career uh, and his trip to Ghana, his first trip since the 90s, his trip as WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and representing his home country, and his 11-year career in the WWE, and it is a fantastic story and great. And it does not shy away from talking about a thing that's great is when you get a chance to, and they weren't afraid to show these clips to hear from Big E and Xavier Woods, and you talk. They communicate how one of the important things about Kofi Kingston winning is that there are folks that look like him, and folks that don't, but can identify with the struggles. Maybe folks that don't otherwise see themselves in prominent roles in entertainment. The chance to see themselves or folks like them succeed is huge. And it was a story that they told, maybe certainly there were opportunities that Kofi did not receive that others did, and they're pretty frank about that. There's a shot of, like lots of footage of people freaking out when he won the title this year at WrestleMania, the granddaddy of them all, the biggest wrestling show, certainly for WWE, him winning the title, and showing his uncle in Ghana watching with a lot of people, and different wrestlers watching it, including two former WWE wrestlers, Shad Gaspar and MVP, who are both African American, and them like reacting to it and how it meant something and means a lot to a lot of different people. And it was nice to have that. And then I remembered that Kofi Kingston had a really bad match. So this is out of character, kayfabe, pretty wrong. Recyclable. So a weird thing that happens in WWE is if it's old, if it happened a long time ago, you can talk about the backstage politics and how it was a work, and work or shoot, how it was planned and scheduled, and they knew what was going to happen. Almost every event in the past, you can say that. There are a few things that they continue to claim happened that are clearly staged, but they pretend like weren't. Like the Intercontinental title was won at a tournament in, I forget where. That never happened. They just gave a guy a belt and said he won it. Rio de Janeiro, that's where it was. That didn't happen. They just made that up. But they keep that story going. But most of the time they talk about old things. Now, modern things, they can't talk about it being staged. They can't break kayfabe, as we say. They have to talk about like opportunities, my chance. They'll talk about title shots as if it was like, given. or championship opportunities as if it wasn't like written in the storyline, if it was like reality. So it's this weird thing where they can't say like Daniel Bryan's not in the 24/7. He lost the belt. There's no point where Daniel Bryan goes, "Yeah, I like being champion, but it meant it. This means a lot." And I think this storyline of me being the heel, telling it like it is, extremist character could have worked, but they don't talk about that. But they do say that like they will say, "Hey, Kofi Kingston is not Jamaican. He had a Jamaican accent." Because in the indie scene, no one was doing a Jamaican character. So Kofi did that, and then he got signed to WWE, and then he did it, and then, hey, weirdly enough, Jamaicans were like, that's a bad accent. That's a bad portrayal. And Ghanan folks, I don't know how to. The folks from Ghana were like, "Hey, are you ashamed to be from Ghana because you claim to be Kofi is a like it's a name that has weight and history to it. Are you ashamed?" And he's like, "Oh no, I'm just playing a character." And that's why he still has the name Kofi Kingston, but they say that he's from Ghana. And then they also he dropped the accent, and they even call it out. There's they show it in the show. It's a really genuinely funny moment from WWE where there's a bunch of like miscasted characters that are all being a team, and he stops them all from arguing, and then Triple H is like, "Yeah, I got something to say. Uh, where's your accent? Aren't you Jamaican?" And it was just like this fun moment where everyone laughed, and it was like from that point on, he's not Jamaican. Uh, and it's a weird thing where like reality blended into the fantasy of it, which WWE loves. They love taking the reality of it. So anyway, this 24/7 video thing is really good and really solid, and I think it's awesome. And also, Kofi Kingston had one of the worst matches at SummerSlam last night. And I can't say it's all his fault because Kofi Kingston has great matches with a lot of different people. But one thing Kofi Kingston doesn't have great matches with is people that wrestle a slow, methodical style like Randy Orton. Now, I'm not here to tell you because I'm not a wrestler. So I can't tell you, I can't share in the belief that some people have that Randy Orton sometimes just doesn't want to be in a wrestling match and doesn't give it his all. I can't tell you if Randy was trying or not last night. I don't have a sense of that because I'm not a professional wrestler, so I don't want to claim that. But I can tell you that I am not interested in watching Randy Orton wrestle. And I hope that this double countout, which is a shitty way to end a match, I hope that this is the end. I fear it's not, and we're going to get another Randy Orton match against Kofi Kingston, and I don't want that because it wasn't fun to watch or enjoyable. I want Kofi Kingston to have someone young and hungry say, "You fulfilled your dream, you got your shot, now's my time." I want a loudmouth, great wrestler that can talk on the mic to go after Kofi Kingston. If they have a personal history, great. If they don't, okay. The person I want more than anyone is Sami Zayn. Because Sami Zayn can talk on the mic. He's a heel right now, so you don't have to swap anybody out. The two of them have great chemistry, could put on stellar matches. It's believable. I would buy into it that like Sammy would be like, I've had injuries. It took me too long to get here, and by the time I got here, like they didn't have anything for me. Like there's angles to go with that. But my biggest real honest bummer is that Kofi Kingston, a momentous thing for him to be champion, and they haven't done anything really with it. He's had so-so matches. He's had bad programs with people. Um, Daniel Bryan, who he won the belt off of, one would have assumed that he would have tried to get his belt back. But Daniel had a health scare there, and they're always very tentative about Daniel Bryan when it comes to health for good reason. I'm not saying don't, but it worked out that way. Then they're like, let's do a program with. If you're hoping for big things for Sami Zayn right now, I'm afraid I got some bad news. I mean, look, Sammy's not even in matches. He's not on TV. I could see him being released any day. I'm telling you what I would like, which is I would like a hungry person heel who can talk on the mic to want to end Kofi's reign. News that they're going to waste a great performer like they did with Baer. Yes. Yes. No. No. Sami Zayn is going to be. Sami Zayn is always going to be beloved until he leaves, and it's a shame. Um, he'll end up in a great tag team. He'll be tag team champion next year in a weird tag team that they threw together for no reason. That suddenly the audience was just like, "Yeah, we like this." Um, but it's been rough because this is a wrestler I really like and I really like his story, and they just I don't think they know what to do with Kofi Kingston and where to put him because here's the thing, WWE writers. So we just put some decals here on our wing uh, of our helicopter. Um, their go-to would be, well, Kofi's part of a faction of 3 people, right? Well, one of them should turn heel and go after Kofi, right? Or that's what writers would write, right? They would have, well, Big E must be jealous. Well, Xavier must be jealous. One of them must think like, well, we did all this for you. Give us a shot. So one of them should turn on him. But one, I will say that the New Day makes so much money that they're not going to break up the New Day because the New Day makes them a lot of money. And then also, they're not going to break up the New Day because they're fairly certain that at least one of the members of the New Day will quit if they break them up because they have said we could go our separate ways, but we can't break up, and we won't break up. So who knows? That could change. But as of this year, they were like, nah, that's not going to happen. Uh, uh, Lashbrook says, honestly, I'm surprised Kofi has had as long a title reign as he's had. Well, honestly, circumstances have actually worked to keep the belt on him because they haven't had a chance to build up anyone credible to go against him. We thought it might be Kevin Owens when Kevin Owens was slotted in when Daniel Bryan they thought Daniel Bryan might be injured, so they used the Kevin Owens filling in for Big E, turning on him. But you also, Kevin Owens isn't going to go to Saudi Arabia, so they need to continue when they had the Saudi show. So then they moved Kevin into a better program for Kevin, certainly, honestly. And then they brought in Dolph because Dolph will play ball. And now it's Randy Orton. So there hasn't, like, I think 2019 they're not going to put the belt on Randy Orton. I just don't think they are. So I assumed that Kofi was going to win. But I think a lot of people were like, well, I hope he keeps it till SummerSlam. Well, now it's past SummerSlam. And he's going to lose the belt. But they haven't worked on who he should lose it to. And then I thought they were going to put Daniel Bryan back in that position. But now Daniel Bryan is kind of feuding with Roman Reigns, I guess. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. I mean, I want it to be Sammy or Samoa Joe. I don't think it's going to be either of them. But those would be my top picks. Because I think Samoa Joe could pin Kofi and make it believable and become a champion and go on a run. And I think that would be really good. That's someone I'd like to see. But I don't know if we're going to get that. Helicopter, almost done. This kit, almost done. Ranting about wrestling. Side note, AEW, who are coming in attempting to be the competition. Yes, indeed, we are building some Lego. AEW today announced the signing of Orange Cassidy, independent wrestler who is currently the independent wrestling champion, which is a belt that jumps from promotion to promotion. Orange Cassidy is a a wrestler that uses a comedic style. His gimmick is that he is very lazy. He often won't remove his sunglasses, or he will wrestle with his hands in his pockets as long as possible. His thumbs up is this. Like, this is his thumbs up. Because he doesn't want to raise his thumb all the way up, so he does it like that. He's very funny. He can wrestle. He can wrestle. He just has a comic appearance and a comic bit. And I love him. I love him to death. He's so fucking funny. He is now signed with AEW, and I'm incredibly happy for my friend. He has wrestled as Orange Cassidy and as another wrestler on the independent scene that I have some dealings with, and I'm very proud of him and happy for him that he is signed. Asmo says, we modern wrestling fans too often make the mistake of thinking about wrestling like modern wrestling and not like a 74-year-old billionaire with very specific notions about wrestling that will never change. Yes, I agree with you and understand your point. You know, the rumors of NXT going to 2 hours on Wednesday and being live on some television networks across the world means that Vince McMahon will be involved in NXT, and NXT will change and be less good. And that is a thing that benefits no one. He still doesn't have any. He still doesn't do much or of anything in the Performance Center, which means the Performance Center is pretty safe. But it's a fucking bummer that he's going to get involved and ruin NXT. Because he will undoubtedly ruin it. All right, we're putting a chain on here. You know, this is the helicopter, I guess. One of the things about that that's kind of cool is that this, like, the idea is that it's, because this is like a search and rescue helicopter. But also, you can just have it attached to this, like a buoy, which seems weird. And I don't know why you do that. I assume the buoy is supposed to come off with it, but you could also just have it like hanging here and just hang out. I don't know. That seems silly. But we'll put our pilot in here. Who's your favorite wrestler, both current and all time? Says Pickle. So, my all-time favorite wrestler is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Yes, Ricky was never a good heel and did it so little in his life. But he was believable, and he was incredible in the ring. Yes, Asian American. Didn't need the dragon gimmick. Didn't need to breathe fire. Didn't need any of that. Steamboat just could fucking wrestle and tell a story and get people behind him. He looked great. And then when he came back in the early 2010s, when he had the Legends match, which was a bunch of legends. And the thing is that Ricky got out. He retired and didn't do a lot of indie shows. He did indie appearances, but didn't wrestle a lot on the indie scene. He had saved his money and then invested well. So he got out when he got hurt. So when he came back and wrestled Jericho, he looked incredible. Also, those arm drags. No one has ever done an arm drag better than Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He is incredible and is my favorite. One of the best things about having a wrestler who always is a likable character, always a face, is that there's never a period where you're like, oh yeah, I really hated that wrestler at that time, which always happens with wrestlers that have a heel run, is that you're like, oh, I remember hating that wrestler for a while, but now I can appreciate him. It's like, nah, never hated Ricky. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next kit because we just finished this cargo. This is the heavy cargo transport. I don't know what to do with the chain when it's on like this, but this is a cool looking kit. I've been enjoyed doing to work on Lego. We worked on this. We started this kit on Saturday, finished it today. We're gonna work on another Lego set in a moment. Chain keeps the helo blades from turning. I guess I could. Yeah, we could do this and just chain it up like this to keep it from turning while it's driving. We just hook it up like that. We'll just do that while it's sitting here. Uh, oh, also, so one thing, if you didn't watch the stream on Saturday, I'll just point this out because I think it's really great. I like her a lot. Our trucker here, her hair is attached to her hat in this kit. So it's not two pieces, it's one solo piece. And I just like that a lot. And I wanted to point that out if you missed the Saturday stream. Yes, our trucker here with her big cup of coffee, driving this transport, heavy special transport. I think you make a loop around the tail boom and hold the rear main blade back. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, this is great, and I'm very happy about this kit. And now we are going to move on to the pickup truck. The pickup truck and the Caravan. I will put this aside here because I will have to take a photo of this kit later, so I can put that over there. And we'll get to knolling. Both these kits were bought by Ultron. Thank you, Ultron. At the 10 o'clock hour, 10 o'clock Eastern hour, I will talk about how you can buy stuff off my Amazon wishlist, and I'll build it on stream. So, what do we have to do now? Well, if you've never watched a Lego build with me, the first thing we do is we knoll. There are 3 bags for this kit. Try to talk and build away. So we are going to knoll, and we will knoll 2 bags right now. We will keep one of the small bags kind of together for extra pieces, and we'll put that aside. Oh, I dropped it. Okay. We also have some decals here, stickers to put on, and we'll put that aside. And, of course, we do have our brick separator, which, generally the brick separator is really important for me here because I might just, miss a step and need it, which happens. If I was doing this off camera, I would do something like this. I would do something where I knoll things together and kind of organize them by shape as well. We're not doing that. We are just going to do it by color and separate into areas here because we don't have to be that fancy with it. When I do 600, 700 piece kits, especially Star Wars kits, where Star Wars kits have a lot of, it's light gray, dark gray, and black, right? And then a couple little colors here and there. You're not seeing a lot of difference in the colors. It's really important to know and to go the further step, in my opinion, of then separating by size and shape, because you end up having a lot of just very similar pieces, and it's way easier to be able to find the piece you need when you can quickly look at it. So to go to recyclable favorite wrestler, my current favorite wrestler, it moves around a lot. I kind of jump week to week. I think on the indie scene, I would say Orange Cassidy is doing my favorite work, and the independent scene, really, genuinely like what he does. And as a comedian, I am very pleased with the work that he puts out and represents comedy wrestling Um, I love that Drew Gulak is champion. I loved his match at last night in the pre-show. It would be great if 205 Live championship matches weren't pre-show matches, but I was very pleased that the audience seemed amped for it and seemed amped for them. Drew Gulak is a such a good wrestler, and I love that he set himself up with a gimmick where, like the no-fly zone, that he doesn't like flips, that he's there for like ground and pound kind of wrestling and chain wrestling. But here's the thing. Drew Gulak can fly. He can do all that shit. He just isn't. And one, he is protecting his body. He's not doing missile drop kicks 4 times a week. He's not doing suicide dives. So he's got a gimmick that protects himself. And then 2, when it's time to get flippy and to fly, the audience is going to lose their dang minds because they're not going to see it coming. They're not going to believe that he has it in him because they haven't seen him do it. And when he does, it's going to be money. And I'm very happy about that because Drew is a great competitor, just a solid wrestler. Can work face too. He's done very well as a heel. And when talking wrestlers, I'll give a shout out to the only professional wrestler that follows me on Twitter. Shout out to Jack Gallagher. Every once in a while, Jack Gallagher likes one of my tweets, and I remember that Jack Gallagher follows me on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, what, did I say anything weird or bad? I forgot Jack's watching. Jack is a duder, a Giant Bomb fan, before when he was still purely indie and not in this weird 205 nonsense. And I hope to meet him someday because he rules. Recyclable says, I'm barely a wrestling fan, but I like watching docs based on it from a historical perspective, which, yeah. That said, I do like Ricochet and his choreographed style. It's refreshing. Ricochet is awesome. Ricochet, there was a Wolverine little kind of like shout out because they were in Canada. A lot of times wrestlers do custom gear and they include pop culture references, and so he did Nightwing, who is not Canadian. So I don't quite know why Ricochet did that, but also a lot of people were just like, "Hey, what are you wearing? What is this?" And I feel like Ricochet made some new fans last night. Some fans that maybe Ricochet didn't know that he would be psyched to have as fans. And I hope that I hope he's learned a bit about some of the internet based on his costume. I thought it was very funny. Because his outfit was pretty great. It didn't look like a cosplay of Nightwing, mainly because he's in incredible shape. But it definitely it might have looked like maybe that Ricochet was wearing fetish gear in the ring. That might be what it looked like. I stayed up way too late to watch the G1 finals, and it was a really good show, and the biggest heel turn I've ever seen. Oh, I heard about that heel turn. Yeah. Woo. And that benefit was being able to go grocery shopping at 6 a.m. when it was only 80 out. It was weird to see the sunrise. Lashbrook, yeah. Sometimes those international wrestling views, Mick Foley is my all-time favorite, followed by Chris Jericho. Yeah, it didn't come across well in the GIFs I saw. Yeah, I mean, I heard, though. I mean, that's still, that's a big deal. Harold, you have great taste in professional wrestlers. Look, I said that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is my favorite professional wrestler. Mick Foley might be the wrestler who means the most to me. he might be the best. He might mean that, like, Mick Foley winning the championship on Raw certainly made me cry. To see, beyond the work hard and your dreams will come true. Give your all, find your spot and push it as far as you can. But also, just like a guy like Mick Foley can be champion. You can do that. Meant a lot. And still means a lot. It was, briefly working with him was incredible. We had a couple appearances in my comedy wrestling show back when he was attempting to do more. This is a fucking weirdest shit. Weirdest shit. So nowadays, the last 5 years, 6 years, podcasts were still popular. Wrestling podcasts were taking off. Performance venues, didn't want to book wrestlers because they didn't know. They didn't think wrestling fans would come to those shows. They didn't know. They don't understand that wrestling fans will buy $40 t-shirts after spending $70 on a ticket because it's a new shirt and, well, I got to come up with something. They don't understand that wrestling fans are so happy to give money to wrestlers when those wrestlers don't have to wrestle anymore. They didn't get it. So Mick Foley's trying to, like, make this transition to comedy and do comedy rooms, and it's not working out. Like, he can do some stuff here, there. He's got some whatever. He's told some stories. He's guested. He's opened. It isn't going the way he would like it to go. So he's got a pretty decent working relationship with a friend of mine who was still involved with my comedy wrestling show. So he makes an appearance. It goes really well. And then he pitches an after show at UCB. This is when we're still doing stuff there. It's an after show at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. It's Sunday night, 11 o'clock, after a pay-per-view that was in the Madison Square Garden. So wrestlers came down to watch. This was Ziggler did a bit. When John Morrison was in the audience, John didn't get involved because he was currently a champion, so he couldn't do anything in the show. But it did mean that he asked Vince if he could do it. So Vince had heard the name UCBW. He's heard it a few times, but he heard it that time. So that was already a very weird thing. But Mick did this show, this like half a storytelling show, the show that he was working on, and half a show with our comedy wrestling league. And the audience, some of the audience knew us and knew him, but there was a good portion of the audience that was just like, Mick Foley's doing a comedy show, walking distance from Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I'll go to that. But they got us immediately and got what we were doing and loved it. And then Mick Foley was able to use that to book comedy shows. So we helped Mick Foley's comedy career by him saying, well, I've done a version of the show at UCB. I would love to do it at Caroline's. I would love to do it here and there. Hey, we got this many people Sunday night at 11 o'clock, like whatever. And now William Regal does appearances. Mick Foley does it. A bunch of wrestlers do these like a night with blank. Because now promoters are aware that, wrestling fans will spend money. Wrestling fans will go out to see people. They love road stories. They love hearing shoot. They love hearing about Mick Foley psyching himself up for a match against Kane by listening to Tori Amos because he had just started, he started helping out with her charity, and got really into Tori Amos, and that was like how he was pumping. Like, folks are like, want to hear that from Mick Foley. They want to hear those stories, and also they might not know how to be a good comedy audience, but they can learn, and they will learn. Um, and maybe also they'll come back because they believe me when I tell you that there is a percentage of people in the United States and in England, and I guess it's getting popular in a couple other parts of the world, where folks have gone to a comedy venue to see a wrestler talk and do a funny show that have never been to a comedy theater in their life, and or a comedy stand-up club in their life. It never occurred to them that that's a place that they should go to. So it benefits the comedy club so much because they just get a different audience. Um, it is working with Mick was really great. He showed up on a Thursday and then we did the show. He was awesome. It was a pleasure to do some work with him. I was thrilled. And then also, so yeah, the cool thing for him is he got to say, I did a show at UCB, and that was a credit that he had while, negotiating for bigger things. We forever got to say, oh, Mick Foley's done the show. Yes, it's cool to say that that our tag team champions for a while were Silver Ant and Fire Ant from Chikara. That was cool as hell. It was cool to say Drew Gulak has performed on our show. We've had a WWE Cruiserweight Champion once performed at UCB. Like, it's fun to say stuff like that and to have that. Dolph Ziggler did many appearances with us, including a thing with Orange Cassidy that was hysterical. Dolph got invited to our show, and the first year, like the bit he did, which I'm always proud of because I came up with it, so I'll talk about it because I came up with it. Dolph's bit, his first year, time he did it was that he was promoting his little show in Brooklyn because they were at the Barclays Center. So he's like, hey, just so you know, I know I'm doing this show, but tomorrow night I'm doing some show in Brooklyn. Please come out. It's not UCB, but whatever. And it was a fun little gimmick, and then he got involved in the main event and super kicked the champion. And we were like, well, I don't know what this bit is going to be year to year if you want to keep doing it, Dolph, but we do know that you're always going to kick the champion, and you're always going to come out like you're happy to be here and then super kick the champion. So the next year he came out and apologized for the previous year. And he was like, hey, I just want to say I'm so sorry about what happened. I'm in a different place right now. And of course, the person he had kicked had turned heel by then, so they said, sure, no problem. And then, of course, in the main event, he kicked the face and turned heel, and it was a whole thing. So the third year, we can't just keep doing that. We got to do something else. Orange Cassidy's in the main event. Orange Cassidy has someone that helps him in the ring called the Swamp Monster. And the Swamp Monster is just a person in a ghillie suit. So we say up top, hey, we want to apologize. We're so sorry Dolph couldn't make it. You know how a schedule for WWE and all that. We're so sorry. And we're laying it on thick so the audience knows, oh, Dolph is going to show up. But then we don't mention Dolph Ziggler for the rest of the show. And there's a match. It's our champion against Orange Cassidy. We had to bring in a ringer to fight Bloody Mary, who's our champion. Bloody Mary is this, fantastic wrestler. She started off as a heel, but the audience was like any good comedy wrestling character. She started off as a heel because she's just like a woman always on her period. She's on her period 28 days out of the month. She's Bloody Mary. So she's like gross and bloody, but also the audience just every time she came out, the audience was just like, hell yeah, this person rules. So it made sense that she would turn face, and she became our champion. She's the first woman to ever be champion in our dumb league, and was part of the transition where we got rid of our gendered categories for wrestling, because why the fuck were we doing that? We weren't a real wrestling promotion. What did we care? And it was she's just fantastic. So she's in a match with Orange Cassidy. And then at a certain point, the Swamp Monster super kicks Bloody Mary. and then reveals that it was Dolph Ziggler. And the audience, somebody probably thought it was, but we definitely fooled a lot of people. And that's hard with a wrestling audience to fool them. But there were a lot of people that were like, just assumed that Dolph was going to come out, and they didn't think that Dolph was wearing a ghillie suit for like 15 minutes on stage. And we really got the crowd, and it was so fucking rad. And then he also turned on, he put a Trump hat on because he knows that that'll get the audience to boo him, even though he's probably a libertarian at best. Dolph is probably a libertarian because he hangs out with someone that works for Fox Business. I won't say anything more than that. But it was a great moment and like one of our best gags we've done. So Asmo says this, and this is a good thing that this leads into that well, because I was waiting to finish my good story before I got real again. My one-time favorite wrestler of all time has some real bad shit in his history, and I feel okay saying that because it describes a lot of people. But how do you feel about dealing with that side of wrestling? So, when it comes to that, everyone's different, and everyone's got their point, their breaking point, where where the art and the artist can't separate, and you can't deal with it. And for everyone, that's different. I still love Beck. It pains me so much that Beck is a Scientologist, because I have some real, genuine issues with Scientology and their views on mental health, among other things. But I still love Beck, and I'll still buy Beck albums. Beck is a Scientologist, and has been as long as we've loved Beck. But I have made the decision to be okay with that. And I feel conflicted about those things. I don't have a problem when I find out that a wrestler is a shitty person and has said some awful things or has opinions that do not align with my own opinions, being like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Because there are a lot of wrestlers out there. But I also understand when you're like, this in-ring performer does great work, and I separate the art from the artist. And I can understand it. I actually feel okay saying this, since I think the alternatives are somehow worse. I was a huge Chris Benoit fan, and that's obviously a huge problem given what he did. Asmo, 100%, right? You can like the ring work and the history of Chris Benoit. You can like the story, the Royal Rumble story, his championships, how he presented in the ring as like just the Wolverine, like, and clearly that it makes it, instead of taking away, in the case of Chris Benoit, in the case of a few other wrestlers, their behavior off and what they've done sometimes is tough, because their work speaks for itself. And like, yeah, there are people who every year want Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame and want Chris Benoit in the wrestling games. And it's like, that's not going to happen. And I know that some of that is trolling, but some of that is genuine. Some of that is people legitimately thinking that a murderer should be in the wrestling video game. And it's like, nah, that one's a nah. That one's a no. I would love Hulk Hogan's legacy to end with Hulk Hogan never appearing on my television ever again. Other people don't feel that way. Um, but it feels demeaning and awful every time he makes an appearance on television. I am not. Uh, Mr. Bob says that's an interesting place to come in. Indeed, Mr. Bob. Hi and welcome. We got real. We got real, and we're talking about it. Look, I am not saying that um, being an awful, terrible racist is the same thing as being a murderer. Certainly, those are not the same things. There are folks that uh, there are folks out there that will never forgive Rey Mysterio for the accident that he was involved in an indie promotion that directly led to a performer's death. And there are folks that are saying he shouldn't never be on television again. He shouldn't wrestle again. Uh, and I don't know how to feel about that. I've never watched the footage of it. Uh, but it's horrible, obviously. But I don't know. It's it is a weird thing. Everything's fucking complicated and terrible, and I don't begrudge people for uh, them being unsure of where to cross a line and where not to. Uh, we universally, wrestling fans, for what he did uh, outside of the ring and how he continues to be a lovable character in the world of wrestling. Folks are really willing to overlook the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin has been accused of in civil and state court to be a domestic abuser, and people are very quick to forget that, to choose to forget that, and to just be cool with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And it's rough. It's all rough shit. Yes. Also, yeah, we have now, by associating the Warrior, Ultimate Warrior, with great charitable work, we have the WWE has effectively attempted in many ways succeeded to remove the fact that the Ultimate Warrior was a piece of fucking garbage. Said and wrote awful things and believed awful things. And I hope that Dana Warrior, I hope to God Dana Warrior has is working to undo the damage that he inflicted on their kids mentally uh, by his beliefs. I hope. Uh, but yeah, we have now made him a symbol, and it's like, hey, those fucked up comic books he wrote still exist. His blog is gone, but those archives still exist. Like, yeah, that man was trash. And we have largely decided that, well, we won't talk about that. And unfortunately, that's a huge part of wrestling is just, you know. So, in general, what I say is, when you don't know something, don't feel bad. Maybe you have some regrets, but you didn't know something. But when you do know something, then you have to make the decision on how you act about it. And that isn't easy and sucks. And sometimes can be really shitty and really lonely. But it's important to constantly be thinking about those things, you know? And we all make those compromises. We all make those changes. We all make those decisions. And those decisions aren't easy, ever. And some people don't. They just go, yeah, whatever. I don't need my wrestlers to be nice people. I need them to be good wrestlers, is what we say. And then, not everyone says that, but certainly a lot of people do. And they just go on with their day. And it's, yeah, it's hard. Because I'm sure I like a wrestler who is awful to people and mean and nasty and has terrible views. I'm sure that there's a wrestler I like who is not a good person. That sucks. Same way there are singers and songwriters and game developers and actors and all of that. And then you just, you hope that you learn and then you hope you can move on from it. Uh, um, the cliched bit of advice that you can give is believe people when they tell you who they are. And then also, when marginalized folks tell you about a person, believe them because they have everything to lose and are still telling you. I have very little to lose when I tell you, if I tell gossip or dirt or shade, I have very little to lose and I face very few consequences. Um, let's say that. Let's say that right now. One of the Penny Arcade guys has me blocked on Twitter because I was publicly telling him that he should stop tweeting things and should start talking to his own employees. And he blocked me on Twitter. And I perform at PAX consistently and do incredible things at PAX. And one of the founders of the webcomic blocked me, and I face no consequences and instead continue to thrive. But if someone else who wasn't me was that critical at the same time, they could get banned. Or they could get harassed away. I mean, the amount of negative attention friends of mine got for talking about Colin Moriarty when he was still at friends that were far less influential than me, which is not much. When he was still Kind of Funny, it was very, the amount of blowback I got was a couple messages on Tumblr, some tweets. The second time he replied to me, because he'd retweeted me with some dumb thing, which opened the floodgates some, and then a couple days later replied again, because I hadn't blocked him, and so he noticed he was surprised I hadn't blocked him because I was like, I don't care, I don't follow you, I don't care. But when that was happening, I mean, everything from friends of mine who were far less well known on the internet, but were women or people of color, got far more shit than I did because also a badge of honor, yeah. Also, one of the reasons why I know that I did that I survived fine was because people. This is the best vote of confidence I can get that I'm presenting my authentic self or a version of myself that feels right to me is that when I was like, this dude sucks, the general response from people who know me was, one, yeah, that dude sucks, or two, I don't know this guy, but if Pat says he sucks, he definitely sucks. And I was getting that from people who didn't know the situation, that were just like, well, Pat's not going to go his way to talk about a guy being shitty if he's not shitty. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay getting what I want out there in the internet. If people are like, oh yeah, well this guy must suck ass if Pat thinks that he sucks. And I was like, oh cool, okay. And then yes, he then later shot himself in the foot. he went so far that people who don't talk shit or play the game better than I do and choose not to talk shit, even though they'd like to, were like, oh, it's now okay to be like, what the fuck? But, you know, that whole thing was a lot. Uh, I still have a friend of mine who is, our friendship will never be the same because I talk shit about her shitty, trashy friends. And it's okay. It's okay. I don't want our friendship to be the same if it's going to change because of that. No thanks. Sport. This is a sport truck. See, it says sport on it, so you know it's a truck. Uh, so yeah, Colin had a panel submitted with his name on it. He has something that he does with somebody else, and that was submitted and approved and then pulled. And I hadn't heard about it till it was pulled. I hadn't heard the discovery that it was there. I mean, it was a blip, right? Because, as Colin will say, major media won't cover this. Game Press isn't going to cover that PAX pulled it. If there were also, if there were people who bought PAX badges the day that they were there just to see Colin, I hope they still go to PAX, and I hope they go to other panels, and I hope they have a good time. And I am sorry for people that were going to go there just for him. I mean, I'm sorry for them for numerous reasons, if I can be a little shitty. But the other guy seemed like a piece of garbage as well. Like, I'm not, yeah. And it's a thing of like, look, I work really hard to create a cool part of that convention. Yes, he will work similarity. So yeah, I do. I haven't reached out to talk with anyone. I can't speak to anything about staff or anything. I don't know how that panel gets approved in the first place. But the fact that it got pulled so quickly tells me, and this is Pat Baer making conjecture right now. This is Pat Baer making some conjecture based on what I know. My assumption, best case scenario assumption is, Sulf, you're better off not knowing. Don't tread on him. That's the only thing I'll say. Don't tread on him. My conjecture is that he got approved for a panel, and some people who make decisions were like, this sucks. And someone made the decision, it's going to happen. And then, at the first sign of people being like, hey, this sucks, the people internally who were like, hey, this sucks, got to get it pulled. Because they were like, hey, we told you this was going to be a story and suck. We should make this right. This is my assumption. This comes from conjecture. This is only based on the people I know, not conversations with them. But based on the folks I know who make decisions about panels for PAX, and my general opinion of them as people, and my knowledge of them as people, that I assumed that someone was like, we should do this, and then as soon as it got messy, people who know better were like, see? That is conjecture on my part, I should say. That maybe somebody who doesn't know what's up was like, well, this guy has a lot of fans, and pulling it is the bigger story. Indeed, Ben. Ben, you're totally right. It shouldn't have been approved in the first place. There should have been a statement. If you are going to pull a panel, you should say, hey, just so you know, we've made this decision. Here's our decision. You give a statement. You let people run with it and get mad. But they didn't do that. Yeah, I agree. It's in the it's in the thing of they shouldn't have done it, and then they should fucking make good on it. Uh, I assume that someone fairly high profile was like, "Hey, I'm not coming because this is happening," and it would have. Here's the thing, because everyone who does the work of putting together a convention, they understand that when you say this happens, the cause and effect. That when word got out that he was going to be there, that some people were making the decision, well, I'm not going. And I assume that someone that they didn't want to burn a bridge with and wanted to support was like, hey, this sucks. And then they quickly changed. That is my assumption. But yes, you don't book them in the first place. You don't ban them. You don't say you can't come. But you just say we're not interested in you doing a panel here. Because here's the thing: when they reject panels that are submitted, they don't email you. You just don't get an email. You just don't get accepted. You never know why you didn't get accepted. And that's the thing. Yes, they took it on issue. Yeah, because the story of Colin saying, hey, we submitted. We want to do PAX. I don't know why they didn't approve us. I could think of some reasons. It's just like, yeah, whatever. But the other thing of, well, they said yes, and then they took it back, is weird. It's weird and complicated, I'm sure. I'm sure some people are feeling real weird about it. Anyway, we are going to null bag 2. Before we null bag 2, and we finished basically most of the truck, and we're going to start working on the caravan portion of this, I need to take a pause for the cause. And now if you're new here, we're going to go to 11 p.m. Eastern. So, good night, Harold. Take it easy. Thanks for hanging out. Knoll, Knoll. Sulf. Knolling is a term that is often used for photographers use it when they take a bunch of parts out for a thing you're going to build and take a photograph of it for reference. In our parlance, we're going to take all our pieces from our bag and we are going to separate them by color so that when I see, I need to grab 2 of these see-through red. They're right there because that's where I put the see-through red. We're just going to null. Instead of digging through the bag to pull pieces out, we're going to lay them out. Some people do that for model kits. Folks that are way better at model kits than me will take them out. They'll take every piece. They'll snip every piece. They'll shave every piece and put it together. Yes, you do all the time when you start a programming project. Yes, you're nulling. I think it gets it. It's the original idea was wasn't for organization. It was mostly for photography, I think. But it's been adopted in the community. I learned the term from the internet's Will Smith because Tested.com used to do Lego builds and reference that. And I learned that term for them. And it was like, there's a term for the thing I do anyway. Anyway, before we get into nulling bag 2, we have to take a pause for the cause. If you're new here, it's only going to be a couple of minutes where I just tell you different things about ways you can support the stream if you'd like. And you don't have to. You being here is awesome. You watching live is great. You watching later on YouTube is great. You watching the VOD after the fact here on Twitch is great. If you're currently a subscriber, you can go to the Bear Cave, the Lego emote there in the chat. Let the people know. I have emotes. I have 2 emotes for $5 tier and 1 emote for the $10 tier. And you can use your Twitch Prime coin if you have Amazon Prime linked to Twitch for this. You could be like Dirty Monkey and just subscribe with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, Dirty. Excited. Thank you so much. Yeah, please. Let's throw the emote in. That's perfect timing. You could do that. You could also use real cash money. It's great when the numbers go up. I am currently underemployed right now, and any little bit helps because it means that can use the money I get from Twitch and Patreon and coffee to buy kits and equipment for the stream, and I don't have to use the little money I have in other avenues. I also have a Patreon, as I said. There are different tiers. Take a look at my Patreon. If you don't want to be a subscriber here on Twitch, my Patreon's cool. You could do that if that's something you'd like to do. I also have an Amazon wish list. I will point out a couple things that are on the wish list that are cool as hell. If you buy anything on the wish list, it comes to me, and this was bought. Ultron bought this. Oh, Air, thank you so much for subscribing with a tier 1. Let's throw the Bear Cave and the Lego emotes in the chat. Thank you, Air. Very much appreciate it. The numbers are going up, y'all, and that rules. Thank you so much. But yeah, my Amazon wish list. I'm going to mention that. This is all in the show description on YouTube. I have some cheap things, $10 bills that I'll finish in one stream. I've got $20 kits. I've got $50 and $60 kits, Lego and action figure model kits like from Dragon Ball, Lego sets and Gundams and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, you buy it on Amazon, it comes right to me. If you'd rather, you could make a donation on Coffee. Coffee is just a way that, like, one time, you can also subscribe, but yeah, one time donation on Coffee, I get that money, I build some model kits. And then I also have this thing, it's complicated. If you want to buy model kits, but you don't want to use Amazon, Amazon is everywhere. You could buy a gift card on USA Gundam and then whisper me here on Twitch or DM me on Twitter. My Twitter are open, and send me the code. You buy a gift card on USA Gundam and then get a code for a gift card and send me that code, and then I'll use that code. And when I have enough money, I'll buy a Gundam off USA Gundam. That's the only thing I can think of that is a good alternative to Amazon and their wish list, because the great thing about the wish list is I don't have to have my address out there, because you just buy it on Amazon and it gets sent. Yes, there's still up until the 18th, Barnes & Noble, go in store, because the online is probably already swept up. They have a sale on all their model kits. So if your local Barnes & Noble carries model kits, they are on sale. You should go and take a look. It would be great if I could just say, yeah, you could buy that and send it to me. When I am further employed or fully employed, which hopefully is coming, then I'll have a P.O. box. I'll get a P.O. box and anyone can send me whatever. I don't have that. I'd like that. I don't have that. Where's the link for the Amazon wishlist? I'll put it right here. It is right here in the... It is on my Twitter, but it is also right here. You can take a look. That's my Amazon wish list. And yeah, like I said, Ultron bought me 2 Lego sets, the one I finished up at the start, and this one. And anything that's bought on the wish list jumps ahead in the line. So, you know, I got a RE100 kit to build. I got a Lego set I could build next, but I'd rather build something y'all want me to build. And then I have my Build-A-Bear community. Join the Build-A-Bear community. It's Discord. It's nice. Be careful with P.O. boxes and large items. Mine started getting way more restrictive of what I can send there. Yeah, Mr. Bob, that's something I'd have to look into. What I'd actually do is, instead of doing a USA P.O. box, is I would do a P.O. box. There is a shipping group. They are print shop, and also they're an Amazon locker. And they also are a thing where sometimes, instead of going back to the post office, if you have a package that couldn't be delivered, they go there. They have boxes, and they say they will text you if your box is full. And they are walking distance from my house. So I have pretty much know that I will get a box there, because they'll text me if it's getting full or whatever, and they don't refuse packages. Believe me, my nearest post office, y'all, the stuff I send out to you every month to a subscriber, because the last stream of every month, a subscriber wins a model kit that I built previously or a Lego set. That's a thing I like to do. I have to go to one of the worst post offices in New York. My local post office sucks so much. I hate it so much. I hate going there. I I go to the like self-service machine, and 9 out of 10 times the box for that is full because they don't empty it enough. So then I have to do all the computer stuff and then get in line and go and wait to talk to a person to hand you a thing that I've already paid postage on. Oh, look, people have a lot worse than me in the world, certainly. But I hate that post office. It sucks so much. And I would love to never, ever use it, but whatever. So yeah, so I'm probably going to get a box with this company. Their hours aren't great for pickup, but other than that, they're open on Saturday, so I can always go. So we got some, like, because this is like a scene almost, we got a fish and a crab. Got a fish and a crab. That's fun. And there's a guy with a net. We're going to build a guy with a net, too. That's a fun little bit of business. Like that. I forgot to grab my water. I'm gonna do without it, but this is a reminder for y'all that maybe it's time to take a drink of water. You earned it. All right, so we'll build our people here. This guy's got a hat. This is the lady. She's got a camera that she holds weird because it's a weird looking camera that we'll build. Put a wig on this lady. They're part of the caravan. We got a fisherman with his net. Whole lot of cool stuff. I don't know what this is. But yeah, alright. So, I unfortunately don't have a lot of anime to talk about in the second half. Usually the second half of the stream, I talk about anime. I have a couple things to talk about. The first thing I'll say is, Episode 6 of Arifureta has been postponed for a week. It was supposed to be today. And I guess there was a tweet that went out about it in Japanese. And it is a pet peeve of mine to never know when Fire Force was postponed, they made a big deal about it and made news because it was directly after the Kyoto Animation Fire, and that was respectful and good of them. But when a show is just like, yeah, we're taking a week off, it was not golf or tennis. It wasn't the U.S. Open, or the French Open, I should say. No, that was a One Piece ended up having a week off because of tennis. The French Open was aired on Japanese television, and it was preempted. That one was weird. This is just like they announced, that they're just taking another week off. And it's also, I was already a little worried because episode 6 of Arifureta is a, yes, One Punch did that. Yes, One Punch did that this year, and it was annoying. Because all of a sudden, I just went to go watch an episode of One Piece, and there was no episode of One Piece to watch, and then looked it up, and people were like, oh yeah, there isn't any this week. And there's no notice. Like, it would be cool if Hulu had a thing that when you went to the Arifureta page on Hulu, it said, no episode this week, next episode this date. They don't do that. You have to Google it. I don't like that. I think you shouldn't have to Google it. It's annoying. So Arifureta episode 6 is a recap episode, and this show only has 13 episodes, and that makes me nervous. Now, that's still 12 episodes of story, 1 episode of like recap, and maybe there'll be some new information, but we are also entering the period because I haven't read the manga for this show. Arifureta is a isekai. It is a people from our world come to a fantasy world and have abilities. I like it because the guy didn't instantly have cool abilities. Hajime, he had to work hard to get these abilities. He's had to work very hard to get where he is. And then also, up until the future, near future, It's just been him and one other character. They haven't added a bunch of characters. It hasn't been the typical thing, which unfortunately a lot of shows like this do, which is um, they have harems, just like a lot of ladies around. And this show hasn't done that yet because they were in a dungeon and there weren't a lot of characters. I do know that by the time the manga is they catch up to the manga, there will be multiple ladies in the crew, and we are going to meet one of those very soon. And I think that's when I stop liking the show as much as I do, because I think it loses it, and it's a bummer because I think it was unnecessary. In another world, my smartphone is. In another world, my smartphone is why I like Arufuerte so much, because Arufuerte is taking the new traditions of isekai and saying, we don't need to do this. We don't need to have a bunch of characters. We can have drama. We can have challenges. They don't have to be perfect. In another world with my smartphone is the perfect isekai because there is never a risk. There is no point where anything is like the opening animation sets up that like, oh, he's going to have a big challenge from this, like someday he's going to fight this cat guy. And look at that. That's going to be tough. No. He learned a skill and beat that dude real quick. Like literally fast. That was not a problem. They're like, oh, look at this guy. He's a big bad. They introduce a character at the end of the show. There is no conflict in another world by smartphone. It is the most isekai. There's a lot of that. And so I like that about Arufuerte. And I'm bummed that I know that I'm going to like it less as it goes on. Because I already hate all the CG and think that it's animated pretty fucking poorly. But I like the characters a lot. I should say, our Fisher person is a child because this is how they do this here. This Lego person, this minifig, doesn't have bendable legs, little short legs, and that tells you that this is a smaller person, and so that's a child. You liked Death March Rhapsody over smartphone? Yes. Death March into Rhapsody is look, we never think he's not going to pull it off. Sato is going to win, but there's some more risk and there's some more changes that have to happen in that show. The characters I think are more engaging and more interesting, and there's some mystery about that show, which is kind of fun. Look, I watch a lot of isekai. The fact that I stopped watching an isekai, for me, is big. That's how little I enjoyed Do You Love Your Mother and her 2-hit multi-target attacks. That's how much that show I was just put off by, is the fact that I stopped watching that, which is, I really like the subgenre, but that one was nope. All right, Campfire Grill. Campfire Stove. I don't know what this is supposed to be. I guess this is supposed to be a sailboat, I guess. This is supposed to be a sailboat. It's a sailboat. All right, so the anime I did like, Fire Force. I got busy over the weekend. It came out on Friday. Too much good anime comes out on Friday. There are 4 shows on Friday that I have to watch that come out that day. Get to. That I didn't get to see Fire Force. 4 or 5 shows, maybe 5. It's good. I think it's overlooked. With like big names like Mob Psycho and One Punch Man having seasons 2 this year certainly took some attention. Black Clover is heating up, and people are talking about that. Dr. Stone is the big shonen show of the season, so people are, of course, interested in that. I'm going to talk later about a show that is hitting its stride, and people are legitimately psyched about that. So I do think the Fire Force is getting overlooked, um, and I don't know. I think it's really good. I think it's a good, cool show. Um, of on the scale of characters that appear to be evil but definitely aren't. Our main guy is like, you've got those like shonen. There's a weird. It's weird. It's a weird shonen thing in anime of like, well, this character looks evil, but he's not. Like, and acts maybe even acts evil and isn't. Like Accelerator is a from the Index and Railgun series. That's a character that like is a villain but acts like a villain. Uh, as the resident non-anime watcher, says Asmo, I've gone through some hard swings lately. Tried watching Eva along with the Waypoint crew and noped out after 24 episodes. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you did 24 episodes is commendable because that show takes some fucking swings and has some misses. The fact that you managed to watch so much of it is pretty incredible. You're loving Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is apparently very anime. Yes, I haven't played this Fire Emblem, but it is anime. Um, there's a lot of different things, a lot of different shows to watch. I always say the lighthearted stuff I always think is a more approachable, like Laid Back Camp is just a good time. Flying Witch is another slice of life. The slice of lives I like to think are more approachable and can often be really fun for non-anime fans to kind of like dip their toes into the water. Sorry about that. The one show I want to talk about, Given. I'm finally watching Given. I caught up on Given. That's another show that comes out on Friday. Hey, y'all. Someone that I really respect was trying to tell me that Given isn't homoerotic, that's the fans projecting. Let me just tell you right now. Given is fucking gay. It is gay as hell. It is awesomely gay. It is a drama about musicians and music and also boys that are figuring out if they like other boys. And it is so fucking gay. And the music is good. There's a moment recently where a guy, because they weren't drinking, one dude lays down and says, hey, pull a futon everywhere. And another guy lays on him. And there's a moment where he's like surprised in the guy that is his house. And there's a moment where his arms start to go like he's going to encircle him. Like he's accepting the moment that's happening. And then the guy on top of him snores because he fell asleep. And it's this moment where you're like, y'all, that's gay. Exclamation point. Thumbs up. Given is a great drama. I feel like I don't have a lot of dramas in my anime. There's gonna be a heartbreak. There's already a heartbreak. There's already characters who clearly love another character who definitely are not going to reciprocate. And it's going to be some sadness because it's high school kids. That's coming. Oh boy. Given. I wish I had been watching from the first episode. I'm now caught up. It's good. Asmo, please get back to Cowboy Bebop. It's incredible. Look, some of the episodes are one-offs that don't further the plot, and they're weird, and a couple of them don't hold up. But for the most part, it's great and good. The dub is great. The subtitled version, obviously, is great. But yeah, I think the dub of Cowboy Bebop might be the best dub ever. The voice acting is just so stellar. Um, it might be the best. But yeah, please give Cowboy Bebop another chance because I do think that it's really, really good. Um, if the art still holds up and it still looks really good too, which is nice. Uh, oh, speaking of nice art, my boys are back. The boys are back in town, my friends. The boys are back. You Lashbrook maybe can understand this more than just about anybody else that's here right now when I say that the boys are back. I know that you're not caught up, Lashbrook. There was a huge arc in One Piece where characters were separated. And it was long in the show and even longer in real time, in anime time. Zoro and Luffy. Zoro is the first crew member of Luffy's pirate. He's the first Straw Hat to join Luffy's cause. These are OG characters, and they've been separated for 2 years of art time, 2.5 years. The boys are back, and I got kind of teary-eyed because the boys are back. And it's just uh and they're doing like the anime is doing some stuff that the manga although I am caught up, I do feel like I need to reread this arc though. So the filler is happening, right? This episode was very little of a chapter of One Piece. And they're throwing in elements, but the filler they're adding isn't bad. Filler doesn't have to be bad. It's the additions that the things they're adding, where they're adding like they changed how hockey looks, and I'm really interested in that. And then uh, um, instead, they added this whole storyline with this sword that Luffy just is borrowing, uh, which instead of him just having it, they added like reasons why he shouldn't have it. They like added scenes to it that make it better, that like further what they're doing with the manga, with the furthering what they're doing in the anime, and the art style is still really good and new, and the music is good and new still, and the 2 week filler that they had because they were promoting the movie is over, and the boys are back. And it's just, there's only one more reunion that I need. And that's I gotta have my Zoro and Sanji like reunited. I need those guys. The 2 and 3, the 2 and 3 like members of the crew, the strong like the guys who compete to be the strongest of them, right? Some of the strongest characters in the entire show, certainly the strongest that don't have devil fruit powers, like that have this like animosity and respect. You know, one's a sword guy and one's a feat-based martial artist, like, and they just have this like great rapport, and I can't wait to see that. Also in this episode, Luffy got his Wano costume, which is basically samurai gear, and so it feels good. I don't know. There's a lot to it. And I'm really excited to see more of it. It's also interesting. This arc is interesting because Wano is like a country like that is suffering, and their suffering is clear and straightforward. Whereas some of the other places that we've seen has been like behind the scenes, things were bad, and everyone was pretending, or they didn't know. And this one is just like, nah, there's poverty and things suck, and then there's some people who are rich, and the guy who's in charge is probably going to be really tough to beat. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Look, I know it's weird. It's 2019, and I'm very excited about One Piece. But also, it's 2019, y'all, and I get to be excited about One Piece, and that makes me happy. The movie looks great, Stampede. I'm excited about that. I can't wait to see all the cosplay at New York Comic Con later this year. Oh, hey, this is the thing I kept telling myself to say multiple times on stream, and I didn't, so I will say it now. I will stop talking about anime for a minute and talk about other things for a minute. My streaming schedule this week is bad. I can't stream on Saturday because I am volunteering at FlameCon this Saturday, and then I'm going to. So I'm going this Saturday to FlameCon, and then I'm going to go to a birthday party after that. So I am not streaming this Saturday. Instead, I'm going to stream this Wednesday, which is the 14th, which is my normal stream time at 9 p.m. So 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to stream my normal build stream time, but on a Wednesday night. So I'm going to stream on Wednesday. Then I'm going to stream on Thursday, like normal. Nothing wrong with Thursday. And then on Friday, when did I decide I'm going to stream on Friday? I have to look it up. I'm going to play more Hearthstone on Friday. It'll be Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. So it basically means that I won't stream from this Friday until next Monday. I hate that I keep having to change Saturdays around. That I think it'll only be like maybe 2 Saturdays this whole month where my normal schedule, I keep to my normal schedule. I apologize for that. But yeah, I'm going to be at FlameCon, which is a wonderful convention, a queer comic convention. I am volunteering at the stage. My good friend, longtime friend, Louis Pearlman, should always make sure, Louis, not Lou Pearlman, it's Louis Pearlman. My buddy Louis is running the stage, and so I am going to volunteer for him, which is great, and it's exactly where I should be. And then I'm doing that for a few hours, and then I'm going to go and work like the info desk. That's fine. I'll be good at that. So I'm doing that. I'm very excited to work there and see some friends. Kate Leth, the fantastic Kate Leth, has new stickers. Y'all, she's got a sticker she's selling at FlameCon that just says no thanks, and it's in the asexual flag colors. It just says no thanks, and I'm gonna buy that because it's fucking perfect. Because the demisexual colors are basically the same as the asexual colors, so I'm adopting that. But just like that's just so fucking funny and great. That I was like, yeah, I'm buying that sticker. So my schedule this week is going to be weird. The Hearthstone, I hopefully will have some new decks to play. Isn't another friend of yours, DJ, launching a comic at FlameCon PAX West? Something about Black Mage. Yes. Yes, Asmo. DJ Kirkland did the art for a book called Black Mage. It is the story of the first ever African-American wizard accepted at up until then, all-white wizarding school. So it is a science fiction or fantasy show that is also about race. And DJ also did some art for the Dream Daddy comic. Did one issue of the Dream Daddy comic and is incredible and a great dude. And also managed to make it to Twitch during Evo in a Smash Brothers tournament, the Smash Bros tournament. He didn't get too far, but he got to stream. He got that far, which is awesome. And also just DJ's a great dude. But DJ will be there. I'm very excited to see him because I didn't think I was going to see him. And I don't know if the hardcover will be at FlameCon, but the hardcover will be at PAX West. So I'm going to get the hardcover of that. I also need to get the Dream Daddy hardcover because I didn't get the Dream Daddy hardcover. And that's a goof on my part. But also, maybe I can get that for you. Seeking that out at PAX sounds very cool. Yeah, Oni has like a half booth at PAX West, and they always put up the stuff that people would like. You know, hey, here's a weird thing. At PAX West, the Rick and Morty books that they put out do well. Scott Pilgrim still does well. Dream Daddy, of course, did very well and will continue to do well at PAX. Also, don't sleep on their children's stuff. They have a lot of award-winning books. They don't do a huge number of stuff. They might do the Invader Zim book. They don't. They only have a half booth. So Oni is definitely worth checking out at PAX West because they're based in Portland, so they just take the van up. Also, Oni saved my ass last year at PAX because PAX West is a holiday weekend, and I was flying out Monday night and had too much leftover merch and didn't know what I was going to do. And they took a box for me because they had room in their van because they did very well and just put it in cargo, and I picked it up at New York Comic Con, which is incredibly generous of them. Oni has always been good to me. I should reach out to them, see if they want to do anything, since I'm not running a table at PAX West. But yeah, I'm still prepping stuff for West, and we'll see where that goes. I've got a interview tomorrow with something that seems promising. Nothing sounds. You never know where things can go and what people really want and all that. But the interview I have tomorrow sounds pretty good. Could end up being something. I gotta get up pretty early for me tomorrow, which is annoying, but whatever. It's part of the job is waking up. Part of the whole getting a job thing. So waking up earlier than you'd like, because that's the hours that people have. We'll see. I don't know. I'll just take a nice nap tomorrow. Haha. Why not? Alright, we'll get some more of this done. So on Wednesday, which will be the next day we stream, we will continue to work on this kit. We're going to have a little more time left here. We'll continue to work on this kit because we still have a bag 3. We've left the bag 2, and then bag 3, and then keep working on it. And then I'll put a poll up probably tomorrow on my Patreon, because my $10 supporters on Patreon get to vote on what kits I do. And I'll put up, I have a model kit and a Lego set that I could build, and I'll put those up for voting. As I said, I'll try not to spoil anything too much, but someone came back to Raw, and it's a very good thing. Ooh, well, that's good. I mean, look, when I'm done with this, I'm going to go on Twitter, and their name will probably be on trending. Orange Cassidy was trending in the U.S. today. We talked about him earlier, him signing with AEW. I love that an independent wrestler signing with a wrestling company can trend on Twitter. That made me happy. I just look at U.S. trends. I don't look at international, so I don't know how he did globally, but that was cool. I was happy about that. So on Wednesday I will be continue. I'll have a poll up, so either I'll do that and that. And per PAX, we talked about PAX. So my goal is to stream when I'm out there. Um, my goal is to do a Thursday night stream and a Monday night stream because I will be out there on Thursday in the afternoon. And other than checking in, I don't have anything planned. So I will try to stream. And my goal will be to stream at 6 p.m. Pacific time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern, my normal stream time. So I would like stream 6 to 7:30 or whatever. I don't know. And then also stream that Monday because I don't really have anything that Monday. I'll be at some stuff. I'm going to go play some games and hang out. And that Monday night, I don't have anything, so I'm going to try to. And of course, it's easier for me to stream than folks that have games and have to deal with that. Like, I'm just going to be looking at bringing a webcam, using the webcam on my laptop. Hopefully the Wi-Fi is strong enough, or I can tie into a line. I'll bring an Ethernet cable. Sergeant Slaughter was going to pull my poor joke about who returned to Raw. Then I looked at Wiki, and he just on Raw last month. Yeah, Sergeant Slaughter. Yeah, that wouldn't be too much of a surprise if Sergeant Slaughter appeared. um, let's see. I was gonna say. There also there are those pods at PAX you can sign up to stream out of, and I don't know if they would be cool. Like, they're set up to stream gamers. I don't know if the pod people would want me to show up with a Lego set. So basically, I'm bringing two 100 and something piece Lego sets that would take an hour and change to build. I'm gonna bring those with me and just I don't know if they would be into that, or I guess I could stream Hearthstone from a booth at PAX from these stream pod people. But I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll do that, or just do a chat, just do a hangout stream. I don't know. We'll see. That's an option if I can't stream from my Airbnb. No, this is a current wrestler and need addition to division. Ooh, Asthma. All right, well, you have now told me who it is by saying that. So that's cool. Because I can guess who has needed in their division and been away for a while. And probably wouldn't have made their return yesterday because that wouldn't have moved the needle. So, all right. So I'm just assuming it's Sasha Banks, and that's awesome. I assume that's just Sasha coming back because Sasha rules. And her coming back will be great because I don't follow a lot of wrestlers on Twitter, right? I follow a few. And one of them follows me back, as I said, which is cool. But I don't follow a lot of wrestlers on Twitter. So I didn't know that people were unhappy with Sasha Banks' tweets about she wasn't on TV, but she was other places, or people were mad at some other wrestler for their tweets of being not whatever. And I was just well, don't follow them. There's a guy I watch a lot of Cultaholic. Cultaholic is a British based wrestling news website, YouTube videos and stuff. They came out of What Culture Wrestling, kind of branched off their own, and they do good work, and they're very thoughtful and entertaining and likable. But one dude brings up Sasha Banks' Twitter and he's come back or quit. I'm sick of this. And it's look, I understand that you follow her because it's part of your job, but then understand it's part of your job and not everyone gives a shit. When he brings up, it was one of those things this feels stalkerish. maybe you need to fucking take a break from Sasha Banks instead of her taking a break. Just because she tweets when like being on vacation. Whatever. That's over. He can now be like, oh, here's my WTF moment. Sasha Banks came back. Then say some weird thing. All right, I'm gonna put a couple more pieces on here. We still have bag 3 left of this caravan, and we'll caravan it up. This is kind of cool to like. The closest we'll get to van life Lego set. Oh, I'm watching some narrowboat stuff. I really like this narrowboater in general. Cruising the Cut is a series of YouTube videos about a gentleman who retired, semi-retired, and bought a narrowboat to cruise the canals in England, which is a thing that people do. His dislike of graffiti and annoys me because I have no problems with graffiti in general. But I'm like, well, generational thing. Wasn't there a boat horse on one? I clipped an episode. So it used to be that the canal boats weren't pulled by engines because this is before engines. What you used to do is the canals, you would have a horse on the towpath, and there would be a thing there. So I put a link out on YouTube or on Twitter the other day of that. Of like, there's like a place you can go and actually see the boat horses do it. So they used to have like you would be cruising the canal and there would be a rope and then the horse would walk along it. Owning a luxury house boat. As well, these boats are not like, there are some that are really expensive, some that look like houseboats. And they're just people that live on it, and they like dock in marinas, and it's a whole goddamn thing. And I kind of fucking love it, and kind of fucking hate it. But also, the engines just purring along the water. It's soothing. It's a good stuff to have on in the background while you're doing other things. And you look over and you go, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's a cool looking canal. Although the aqueducts are really high, and I watched the video where he was going along this aqueduct, and I was like, fuck this shit. No thanks. There's also some tunnels where there's no light in the tunnel, and you have to use the light on your boat, and that also, and like they're low. Oh, no thanks. There are a couple parts where I was like, I don't like that part. I like the part about like just being like, well, I have 3 days to get from this place to that place. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I kind of like that. I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you all so much for hanging out on Monday. We had a great crew tonight. Some new faces, new subscribers. Consider giving me a follow. Let me know if, take a look at the Amazon wish list. Tell a friend if they like anime conversations and model kit building. And legitimately, I was talking about this, there was a Twitch ad about how Twitch chat makes things better. And in general, that's fucking not true. And in fact, the opposite. But this is a good chat. Y'all are great. And I definitely would not be doing this if you all were not awesome. If chat was a nightmare, I would find out some other way to do this. Because, no, I would just make them for YouTube. But y'all are great, and I'm so thankful to have such a lovely little community. Thank you all for being in the Bear Cave and watching the show. And I will see you a special time. Next stream will be on Wednesday. I'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.